So real briefly, why do we have this session today? You may have seen during the International Day of Forest on the 21st of March, joint announcement from Google and the Google Outreach team and the FAO Forestry Division of the Open Foris Ground application. We issued several press releases and stories, and we got a lot of requests since the 21st of March, so that was 3 weeks ago. Requests to clarify what the app does, how it can be used, if there's a manual, if there's documentation. So even though we are still in early stages, testing version of the application, we thought it would be good to organize an early demo and hands-on session so that we can get your feedback. Without further ado, I will have the pleasure to give Gino Micheli from Google the floor to give us a quick overview of the application and some introductory words before we switch to demo and hands-on. So Gino, if you're fine, floor is yours, and I will pass the slides.
Thank you, Remy. Hi, everybody. So many of you know me. For those of you who don't, my name is Gino Micheli. I am a former forestry officer at FAO that has been with Google for over 10 years now. I'm currently a developer relations engineer on the Earth and Earth Outreach team. And I co-founded this project within Google. Essentially, I work with a group that's the group formerly known as Google Earth Outreach. And through them, we've had a lot of hands-on experience with partners working on the ground on high impact projects for environment and social impact. And for over 12 years, probably 15 years, we've been doing this. And we've been hearing many recurring themes from partners, in particular, difficulty in doing field-based data collection. So I and several other colleagues of mine have volunteered our time. We have this idea of a 20% project at Google where you can take 20% of your time and contribute it to a project that you want to work on. So this was our 20% project. And one of the first things we did is we tried to come up with a theory of what things were missing, what were the pain points that people were having when they were doing field-based data collection in remote locations, right? So we're talking about in places with low internet connectivity, low technical knowledge. And we basically validated those learnings with user research professionals at Google who did interviews with several professionals working in the field and actually did an immersion study in Sumatra with the local NGO called Haka. So one of our researchers went to Sumatra and was embedded with a group of NGO members who were tracking deforestation. So they went to quite a remote spot and they were, faced with illegal loggers and trying to track that and keep safe. So that was interesting research, which we learned a lot from. From that, we created a early prototype, and we shared that with several key partners, namely NASA USAID Surveyor and a Brazilian NGO called ECOM, and they tested this in the field in 2021. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes. So what were the key takeaways from this research and this emergent study? Basically, what we had been hearing was that the existing tools for data collection were complicated, unsustainable, and incomplete. And I use those three words to summarize a bunch of different characteristics, but really they can be grouped as they're difficult to set up and to use. They require an instruction manual to get going. They require some technical knowledge, cost and vendor lock-in. So they weren't open source. The good ones, let's say the ones that were very easy to, I shouldn't say good, the ones that were very easy to set up and get going required recurring fees, and they weren't open source, so companies and organizations couldn't take them and modify them. And lastly, they weren't really complete for the problem. They weren't fit for the problem that people were trying to solve. So they didn't address all the needs in a single tool. So people ended up needing to use multiple tools to solve their problem, which led to it being more difficult. Next slide. So we set out to create a single tool that solves all of these problems, that has a streamlined interface using the latest user experience design from Google. We also wanted the tool to be map first rather than form first. So we have tools like Google Forms and ODK, which start with the form, whereas here the user interface is primarily a map. We wanted everything to be seamless, so there's no manual synchronization of data, no uploading your files to the cloud. The user who's collecting data doesn't even need to know what a file is, right? Also, we wanted to have a system that was based on the idea of data collection tasks, so that we can incorporate, so that we're not talking about just forms, we're talking also about physical actions that you have to complete, like walking around a perimeter or taking a picture or capturing your GPS location. We also needed to have it be very, very easy for non-technical users to set up surveys, the ability to download some imagery to take with you so that you have that when you're offline. It needed to be open source, and there needed to be some free tier to be able to use this for everyone. Next slide. Right. So as I mentioned, what is Ground? Right. It is a web app for quickly getting surveys set up and visualizing the data. There's a native Android app for offline data collection by non-technical users. There's no iOS at the moment. In the places where we worked, Android was by far much more used, so we prioritize that at the moment. We use a Google product called Firebase for the backend, and that's where all the data lives. The data is owned by FAO for Open Foris Ground, but it lives in a hosted Firebase, a cloud-based solution. All the source code is public on GitHub, and documentation will be posted to groundplatform.org. And it is supported by a team of 20%ers at Google, staff and consultants at FAO. Google is also putting some full-time resources into it at the moment, and a partner NGO is also in the process of onboarding an Android developer. So we're really an open source project with contributions from different organizations. Next slide, please. So some quote unquote disclaimers, right? Or really, these are clarifying points. There's a lot of confusion because people see two tools and they think that they're all the same. That two tools that look similar. So, hey, I can do tables in Google Docs and I can do tables in Google Sheets. Why do I need Google Sheets and Google Docs? Why don't we just make them one tool? Well, they serve very different people in very different contexts. So this tool is not a replacement for purpose-built solutions like Arena or Forest Assessment or Forest Watcher, or even ODK for that matter, which has quite a different focus. This is not a staffed Google product. This is not Google Ground, right? Today we're talking about the FAO distribution of Ground, which is called Open Foris Ground. This is not a Google hosted service, so there's no like pay Google for Ground. That doesn't exist. It's all run through, the data all goes through Firebase. And finally, this is not a replacement for custom solutions. So if you have some very, very specific need, like I want to drop a pin on a map and then have a machine learning algorithm do some sort of automatic land use classification based on the photograph, like, or I'm working in aquaculture and I want to have a water sensor like that. If you have developers, you could develop that yourself. That's great. This is for the simple case where you're just trying to collect basic data very quickly and very easily. Next slide. Lastly, we're in the process of transitioning from a more Google-led maintenance of the platform to a more community-led maintenance of the platform, which means that we're essentially forming a working group together with partners at FAO, with NASA Servir, Spatial Informatics Group, and the Brazilian NGO ECOM. And they will all be contributing and helping make decisions to steer and drive the future of the product. That's it. So I think at this point, I will hand it back to Remy for demo and timeline.
The first thing we're going to do is actually go to the dashboard, to the centralized platform of the app, where you can set up the survey and you can get your data. And this is also where you're going to get access. If you have an FAO.org address, that Google account is automatically cleared, so you don't need to do the registration. If you use any other Google account, you will need to do a registration. And we will do that together right now. So you go to ground.openforis.org and you sign in. And in the process of signing in, if you have not registered yet, it should direct you to a page that says click here for registration. So you can click here for registration, and you will have a little form to sign. If you can provide an info that's super useful for us, like your name, your institution, what kind of institution, you don't have to do it. You just need to tick that box so that we have your account and you agree to the terms of services with all the disclaimers that we mentioned. And then you can submit your form. Once you submit your form, you will have access to the dashboard, and we will, you should be in a page like this. So feel free to go to ground.openforest.org, put your information in registration. If you are using your FAO.org, you will immediately access. And as you can see, at the beginning, you don't have a survey. And we chose to leave it like this for the moment. So we bring you through all the steps. I'm going to create the survey now, but in parallel, you can also install the application on your mobile phone or on your tablet or on your Android device. And the application is available on the Play Store. Make sure that when you go with your phone on the Play Store, you type Open Foris Ground so that you actually find it. And then it will install it. It's super quick. And when it's done, it's going to ask you the same Google accounts that you have registered with, and you will get access. Now, let me come back to the survey itself. We will create a survey together. So to do that, we start and we open the survey. For today, we're going to call that a land cover characterization survey. And I put a title. Obviously, as usual, when you have a little asterisk, it means it's compulsory. A survey is divided into different jobs. We will do a survey today that has only one job, which will be to collect land cover descriptors, for instance. So I'm going to use that. And then you have your first choices. You can either predefine the locations when you want data to be collected, and you can import that as a GeoJSON. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to use some predefined points. I earlier shared the presentation, and in the presentation, I give the access to the GeoJSON so you can have an idea of what type of format we use to predefine the points. And here we have like 3 points that are in key geographies, Indonesia, Côte d'Ivoire, and Peru. And I will also allow to do free-form data collection. It means that if I want to go and collect data anywhere else outside of these points, I can also do so. So I will allow this option, and I will continue. Now, we have different tasks within a job that we can do. The first one that we will set up today is to basically get the coordinates, and we want to have actually a polygon. So we actually want to walk a perimeter, and we will give as instructions to walk the plot. So that's the one we're doing. By default, the first task is required. You cannot not do the first task, and we keep this. The second task we will do is to actually capture location. We will discuss this after the demo because I think we're going to put this as compulsory and not a task by itself. But at the moment, it shows as a possible task. So we will just capture location that help the person who's looking at the data being collected to check whether the data collected is actually where the collector is physically. It's a way of doing quality control on the location accuracy itself. Now we're going to answer a question. So I'm adding a new question, and my question might be, for instance, we're going to take an easy one today, just a simple land cover descriptor. I will select, you can see here the different Google field type of options. I don't know if you ever made a Google survey, you will find some very similar features that are available as answers. I will do a select one, and we can put the different IPCC categories. So I'll just do that. All right, almost there.
And as being at Google, we weren't ashamed of copying the design of Google Forms. We were proud of it, so we went with it.
And we're happy you did so, because it's actually super easy to do. So you can add questions like that, and you can also add other in the sense that if you don't have any of the choice that you like, you want to add another one, you can add another one like this that you self-specify. And the last type of task you can do is take a picture. So we will say, hey, instruction is not a selfie, not really interested. Take a picture, whatever. You can do this kind of stuff. And you can rearrange the questions. If you want to rearrange them, you can take them up like this. You can move them, easy to do.
Remy, I think you have two other tasks. You might want to get rid of one because it might look weird in the Android part.
What do you mean? No, I have in the sense of the IPCC categories, which is an IPCC category, or other if you want to do another one. But fair enough, like if I wanted to say, I don't know, I'm on Mars, I'm not, or I'm on water, you could do that. But you can also suppress options like this, obviously. All right. So we have a photo, we have a question, we're good to go. And I'm going to continue, and I'm going to add data collectors. So today we have two good-willing guinea pigs. We have Vicky, who will start with a demo, and I will also add Roberto as a data collector. Roberto is our main developer from the FAO side on Foris Ground. And I will then go to the survey. And as I can see now, I have...
This is Roberto Fontanarosa. I'm a ground developer. I'm at FAO headquarters at the moment, and like Vicky, so I'm going to do a new polygon, working around an area and collecting data. So the first thing is log into the application and with my FAO account. So I can see the survey created by Remy. Clicking on it, I will open the collection screen. And so see the target button on the corner. We can use this to match our location with the map. And so as you can see, I'm in front of FAO, and now I can start collecting data, clicking on collect data. So the accuracy at the moment is 11 meters. So I'm waiting for, okay, now it's 4 meters. I think it's accurate enough. So the first thing to draw the polygon is clicking on add point. Then I'm working right now. And the fact that the blue dot is aligned with the orange circle means that everything is working fine and that I have a good GPS signal. So every time I change the direction and clicking on that point, we can do this from time to time, or as I said, when we change direction. Showing a very simple polygon.
While you do that, Roberto, if I could chime in, the reason we don't just record the path is because this gives you a chance to walk around obstacles. So if you're walking around a farm, for example, and there's a signpost or a well or something on the boundary, you just walk around it and then hit add point again, rather than recording the path of the detour, let's say.
Okay, thank you, Gino. And I'm at the starting point. I can click on add point, and yeah, the polygon is completed. Clicking on complete, I pass to the, so I have to name the location of interest that I just drawn. We can say Roberto's polygon. Okay, so the first question is capture location. We can skip it or we can capture the location. So this way we are saying that we are not, so sorry, that we are actually there and not in a different part of the world. So I can answer a question, maybe other. Next, I can, as Vicky did, get a picture. and it's done. So I've created my first polygon and collected about that specific area of interest. So, but let me show you another key feature of Ground. So Ground is designed to be used in the field in places where most of the time would be no internet connection. So clicking on the button on the top left corner, you can see there is an option named offline map imagery. This means that we can download images that we can use offline, even if there is no internet connection. To download these images on our phone, we have just to click on offline imagery, following the instruction. So what you have to do now is selecting an area. At the moment, only 4 specific regions are available, the maps, and they are available for Ghana, DRC, and a few others. Let's see how we can download images. So the application says that we have to zoom in, and now it's calculating the space required to download this specific area. It's just 10 megabytes. So clicking on download, we are downloading this image that we can use when we are offline. So at the moment, these images are Sentinel-2 images, but soon NI-CFI high-resolution images provided by Planet will be available. And yeah, we have to wait a few seconds that the process download the images. Okay, now this image will be available offline, and you can see now because we are using I don't remember the terminal layer. So as you saw, clicking on the top right corner, you can change the base layer, obviously, but with the terrain is clear enough that there is a image over the base layer. So, and this is pretty useful and probably the key feature of Ground.
Okay. One thing we haven't shown. So if you've set up survey, you want to go back to the survey, modify the questions. You can always go back and do that. You want to add more sites, you can always do that. You want to add more people, and I'm really happy to share with people who came in today. So everyone who's signed up to the survey today, I will share with you the survey that we did, and feel free to, between now and whenever in the day, add some more data and we can see where it comes, and that would be useful. So I'm sure I'm going to be doing this. But what I wanted to come back to is, if I go back to my survey, if I click here on the 3 little dots, I can download the current job data. And when I download it, I will get the results as a CSV table like this that contains the information that I have. So I'm going to get the information of the polygons that were walked here. I'm going to get some supplementary data. I'm going to get, for those who have familiar with what we're doing on the regulation, I'm going to have some WISP related information, notably the unique identifier from the asset registry. Not the topic of today, but it's there. So those, for instance, we automatically create those unique GeoIDs. And I can find back all the information that was taken. So riverbanks in the case of Vicky or Roberto's polygon, plus the answers that were given to the different questions that are out there. So at the moment, that's the export format. It's as a table with including links to the pictures and other metadata that are in the Firebase.